Prepping for to build on lot in an older subdivision. Neighbors on both sides are unhappy. I guess I just came here to vent. Bought the last lot in an old subdivision that was owned by the neighboring property. Previous owner passed and family sold it to settle the estate. We just started the process of clearing. It was fully covered in trees and brush. Neighbor on one side has surfaced periodically and offered to buy it at a low ball price. He wasn't willing to negotiate, so we declined. Tried talking to the neighbor on the other side about our plans in attempt to make friends and be sure they agreed with our survey. He was a total jerk and basically blew us off. Why are so many people entitled jerks? I get why they may be annoyed at the situation, but what do they expect to come of being rude to us? We have the right to build on the land we bought. I can only imagine how fun this will be once the heavy machinery moves in and the build process actually begins. People do not like change. Leave as many trees on either side as you can up. You're going to want the privacy barrier between them and you. Is anyone really happy to have a months-long construction project next door? I wouldn't worry about it. Build your house. They could be entitled, miserable, or just not looking forward the noise. Once everything is done, they may be great. Who knows? The lot was owned by the neighboring property, but apparently not either adjoining neighbor. Obviously, those two have enjoyed not having a neighbor and having the extra unoccupied territory next door. The guy that lowballed you. Give him a huge price. The jerk, well, you can just forget him, or you can try by sending him a copy of front elevation, a construction timetable, etc. My parents did this and it was a massive headache. Hopefully you don't have many easement issues. The one neighbor wanted to have them sign a contract with a list of demands to run a power line. If they violated any rule, he could threaten to cut off power. Luckily the other neighbor allowed them to run a line to spite the other guy. I understand your situation. We bought property and built on land that had been vacant for decades. A couple of the neighbors have been pissy about it and made rude comments. My viewpoint is that the land was for sale and they had an opportunity to buy it. It sucks to have neighbors like them, but there's nothing to do about it. We are polite when we cross paths but aren't wasting any energy on them. Congrats on your land purchase. Enjoy building your new home. Don't let the a-holes get you down. I can only imagine how fun this will be once the heavy machinery moves in and the build process actually begins. This is exactly what they're thinking too. Do what you're legally allowed to do. Have a little grace when you do it. It was for sale when you bought it, yet they didn't take the opportunity to buy it themselves. It's always the same. Don't buy property when it is for sale, but then try to stop people from doing what they want when they buy it. How do they think their house got there? They bought it and exercised their right to use it as they planned. They had the opportunity and did nothing. Take no attitude from them and don't feel swayed by them. Their opinion doesn't matter anymore. Neighbors could have bought the lot if they wanted it empty so bad. Everyone wants to control what others do with their property near them, which is a big reason why housing is so expensive. I have creek with a nice empty piece of land right outside all my large windows. If it goes up for sale, I will either buy it or greet my new neighbors. We bought the empty lot next to us because I kept seeing people look at it and bring their contractors. In my neighborhood, new owners tear down post-World War II houses to build new ones. This is very noisy. Causes street parking issues. Lots of contractors parking big trucks on narrow roads and can go on for as long as 4 years. We have no choice but to put up with this, but it is unpleasant. Congratulations. Sounds like tall trees and a good solid fence are going to be beneficial for your new home. Been going through the same thing, if not worse. Assume it'll be fine when we get in and people adjust. Either way, if they didn't want a house there, they should have bought the lot. In their minds, you are disturbing the status quo. You are an inconvenience, a hassle. Be empathetic and put yourself in their shoes. That said, they will realize that they should have bought the lot years ago or fundamentally understood that at some point that lot will likely be built on. At this point they will come around. I just finished a 10-month build in a situation like this. Was on site nearly every day for 10 months straight and not a single neighbor spoke to me or gave me a head nod. Sucks to suck. They enjoyed the fact that there was an empty lot there all this time. Now they are pissed that it is going away. Too damn bad. I had one of the first houses in a nice partially wooded development. I enjoyed the views of the rolling hills for the couple of years that the lots were open. Now there are houses. That's how it works. I can only imagine how fun this will be once the heavy machinery moves in and the build process actually begins. It's not about the build. It's about losing a buffer side yard that they had liked having. Neighbor 1 already tried to buy it for peanuts, but still had the free land attitude, and so he wasn't willing to pay for what it is, a buildable lot. No one likes 6 months of construction next door. They have enjoyed having a double lot all of this time. So now unhappy. They should have bought it if they wanted it. Don't worry about it. Put a fence in those plans. They got used to having an empty lot and just assumed it would always be that way. They could have bought the lot from the family too. But they didn't. Build your house. Invite the nearby neighbors for a little get-to-know-us barbecue. Maybe they warm to you. Maybe they don't. Most will. Either way, you've lost nothing, as you had no idea these people existed before you bought the lot. You have already tried to be a good neighbor, so at this point, who cares? Expect them to complain about dirt on the road, noise, and garbage. Just do your best to keep the site clean so when they complain to the town you are in, it is not valid. That's all you can really do now. Sounds like paying for an official stake finding and survey is in your best bet here. Be sure it's defined by the boundaries of property, and that nobody can make a claim after you build for damages, etc. Sounds like an uphill battle. They don't want a new home there. They don't own the land, but are not going to be civil. Time to be sure the lines are exactly where they need to be, to avoid any legal issues. If the land boundaries are infringed on by either neighbor, you'll need to be sure they do not qualify for an easement or right of use, etc. GL Op. I was living between a vacant lot in my neighborhood. It went abandoned for 10 years. So the neighbors had started mowing half of the grass. When it went up for auction, I bought it. Neighbors couldn't afford it, but I wasn't about to waste my money on prime real estate and leave it vacant. Let the neighbors know what my plans were. So they moved 6 months later. I live in a neighborhood like this. It was a free lot to dump yard waste and a great fence as well. Neighbor bought the lot next to me and cut down every tree. It is their lot, plus they built a nice home that improved my house value, plus for some reason people think that because they are neighbors they are friendly, and that is a real crapshoot. Park an old junk mobile home on it first, see what their reaction is. They'll love a nice new house after that. Built on the last empty lot on a cul-de-sac. Neighbor hated it. Trucks parked in front. Always complained. Told us to move contractor vehicles. He spoke like he owned the street. He had put a pile of leftover construction material on our land and we've been asking him to move it since before we closed on the land. Fast forward a year later. When our house was done, he only moved his pile after we sent a certified letter. That pissed him off more. We put up a privacy fence as soon as we moved in. They fell in love with a view they didn't own. They'll get over it.